Next, Sue Hefling does a deep dive into Macomb County's 2020 cast vote records.
I'd like to bring up my friend Sue. She is a precinct delegate from Mount Clemens, and she is doing cast vote record analysis of Macomb County 2020 election.
Everybody take a deep breath. We've had a lot of good information. But as we've looked at the 2020 election, okay, we've heard from Ralph, do we need more voter engagement and ownership of our government? Yes, absolutely. On the other side of the coin, the election playing field we discovered from 2020 is not a fair playing field. Okay? And so Fanny's going to be coming and he's going to be doing voter rolls, and we've heard a lot about the issues in our voter rolls. I'm going to be exposing you to something today that's kind of flying under the radar, and it's coming from the cast vote records. And what we're going to be looking at briefly is the behavior of our election management server here in Macomb County for the 2020 election. Okay? Now, many of you remember Mike Lindell called and asked for cast vote records. We got some from Macomb County, and this presentation is to share with you what we found after the cast vote record analysis from Macomb County in 2020. Okay? Take a deep breath. I'm just going to be reading slides. So I'm going to sit down and go through the presentation. And if you have any questions, we'll do it after. Okay? All right. So cast vote records are the ballot audit trail made by the county's election management server. So this is data coming from the county machine. Okay? And so the election management server is the machine that combines the election data from local jurisdictions into county-wide results. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the county machine that's making these results. Analyzing the cast vote records shows us the counting pattern order used by the election management server during the election. So it's a different look at data. We always get to see election data when it's filtered into jurisdictions, and we can see how many people voted for who in this precinct. What we're going to look at is the data as it flowed through the machine on election night. That's what we're looking at. Okay? All right. The big find was that the Macomb County election server used two distinct patterns to count different races on the same ballot. Okay? One pattern treated ballots from both parties the same, the other did not. Okay? So this is the first counting pattern. We're dealing with mail-in ballots here. This is what we would expect to see from when ballots from both parties are treated the same. The blue line is the candidate percentage. All right? And we would expect that to settle quickly into a horizontal path as it obeys something called the law of large numbers. Basically meaning the more votes you've counted, the harder it is for a small group of votes to change the pattern. So you're going to expect some initial variation with that line, and it's going down to the ending percentage. All right? And finally, you have a statistically calculated limits in this red cone. And these are the things that we expect to see if the EMS is treating ballots from both parties the same. And so we see that in U.S. House District 10 race, we see clearly Lisa McLean's race follows that pattern, as does a Michigan House District race, number 33, Jeff Yarrick. His race looks really good. And those two won their races. They were in very Republican areas. Here we have Grant Anderson in his race, County Commissioner District number 9, that's my area. We see Grant lost that race, but even though his percentages, even though he has losing in the mail-in ballots, we can see pretty much it's staying within the red cone, kind of following this line, okay? All right, now the test result of this pattern is normal. It treated ballots from both parties the same for most of the 2020 local races. You want to follow that horizontal path to the ending percentage and stay within the red cone. All right? So now we're going to look at counting pattern number 2. Take a deep breath. That's counting pattern number 2 for the mail-in ballots. We don't see a horizontal path for the candidate percentage, so we know it's not banging the law of large numbers. And it doesn't stay within the red cone until the very end. So we see instead of what we see an initial Democrat ballot front load that's pushing that Republican candidate percentage down. And this is the EMS is counting unusually high percentages of Democrat ballots first. This is like 80-20. This is like Detroit level inner city variance between Republican and Democrat ballots. And then we have this very controlled linear rise to the ending percentage. So basically this linear rise is problematic because the EMS used a mathematically predictable pattern to control the percentage of Republican ballots being counted. So this is what's going on in your counting machine. It's got an abnormal counting pattern that's basically treating the ballots from both parties differently. You get initial ballot front load for one party, and you get a controlled linear rise for the other. So we see this abnormal counting pattern used for the following Macomb County races in 2020. President, Senate, prosecuting attorney, treasurer, Farlini, clerk, public works, sheriff. All right? So the question becomes, well, most of these Republicans won their races, right? They're our current county officials. Did they cheat? No. The abnormal pattern appears to be a virus that controlled Republican percentages in order to impact statewide results. So the Republican percentage wins were kept low. And we see that Donald Trump's race, president, won Macomb, lost Michigan. Here in 2016, Donald Trump got 53.6% of the Macomb County vote. And with that nice little linear rise, he got 53.4% of the vote in 2020. Also John James won Macomb, lost Michigan. So this abnormal pattern, the second pattern that's going into the EMS counting machine, was found in over 161 out of 202 counties where cast vote records were analyzed. It was found in all major voting system vendors' machines, including ES&S, which we use here, and Dominion. All of them have it. So are you telling me that the 2020 Macomb County election was not safe and secure? No. That is what the cast vote record audit trail is telling me. All right. It is absolute proof that the EMS corrupted the ballot counting process by treating ballots for both parties differently in some races and not others. All right, so questions? Why did the EMS use two distinct patterns to count different races on the same ballot? Why did one pattern treat ballots from both parties the same and the other one did not? What will keep the EMS from doing the same thing in the upcoming 2024 elections? All right. Resolution, well, the easiest way to make sure this, the will of the people is not being undermined by an abnormal counting pattern is to return to hand-counted paper ballots. It won't eliminate all fraud, but it will eliminate this.
Yes.
So we need leaders in the Republican Party to stand up and to take on these technology issues. The other thing is get educated and educate others. You can find this information at votedatabase.com. Again, it's an issue that's flying kind of under the radar because it's technical. You know, we need to be aware. If we want to, everybody wants to win elections. We like the enthusiasm. We like engaging people. But we have to get a grasp of what is happening with the technology and with the machines, and we have to address it. All right? All right. And that's what I have for you today.